I died on my 30th birthday, choking on a glass of poisoned champagne that my own sister handed me with a smile. The last thing I saw was her face. Perfect porcelain, twisted just enough for me to realize she'd been plotting this since we were kids. And now, as the clock strikes midnight on my 29th, I'm back in this body, heart pounding like a war drum, ready to burn it all down before she can touch the glass. The cake was chocolate fudge, my favorite, but it tasted like ash because I knew what came next. 1 year from now, I'd be dead, my empire in ruins, my name synonymous with fraud. All because of them. I slammed the knife into the table, the blade embedding in the wood with a crack that silenced the room. "Fuck this," I spat, my voice echoing off the high ceilings of our family's Upper East Side brownstone. Eyes widened around the dining table. Mom's manicured hand frozen mid-clap, Dad's fork hovering over his untouched slice, and Elena, my golden child sister, blinking those doe eyes like she'd been slapped. Harper. That's me. Or at least, that's the name they slapped on the tombstone after they buried me in a pauper's grave upstate, far from the family plot in Greenwood Cemetery. In my first life, or whatever the hell you call the 30 years I wasted, I was the invisible one. The workhorse. The fixer. While Elena preened for the cameras, I built the back end of our family's real estate empire from a dingy laptop in the basement. Dad's quiet genius. He'd call me in private, right before signing over the next big deal to her. Mom would nod along, her pearls clinking like chains, whispering how Elena had the face for it. That birthday dinner was supposed to be my moment. 29 years old, fresh off closing a $50 million acquisition for Kensington Properties, our legacy, or so I thought. I'd poured everything into it. Sleepless nights crunching numbers, schmoozing investors in smoke-filled lounges, dodging the sharks who smelled blood in the Hudson River deals. And yeah, maybe I'd cut a few corners. Fudged a zoning report here, greased a councilman's palm there. But it was New York, baby. You don't climb Manhattan's glass cliffs without bloodying your heels. The room smelled like overpriced Merlot and hypocrisy. Crystal chandeliers dripped light onto the mahogany table, casting long shadows that danced like ghosts of deals gone sour. Mom had outdone herself, catered from Le Bernardin, the works. Lobster bisque steaming in porcelain bowls, rack of lamb glaze to perfection. But the real centerpiece was Elena, perched at Dad's right like a queen in waiting, her auburn hair swept into an updo that screamed, old money. She was 32, 3 years my senior, but light years ahead in the family ledger. CEO in training. The one who schmoozed at galas while I scrubbed the toilets of metaphor. To Harper, Dad boomed, raising his glass, his voice gravelly from too many Cubans and not enough apologies. For all the grunt work that makes this possible. Grunt work. There it was, the pat on the head before the boot to the ribs. The table murmured agreements, cousins, aunts, the sycophants we'd invited to pad the guest list. Elena shot me a smile, all teeth and no warmth. Couldn't do it without you, sis. I clinked my glass against hers, the crystal singing like a lie. In my old life, I'd smiled back, laughed it off, downed the wine, and spent the night in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, wondering why I always tasted second place. But not this time. This time, the poison of memory coursed through me hotter than the Cabernet. I remembered the autopsy report they'd buried. Ricin, odorless, traceless, slipped into my champagne flute by the sister who'd hugged me goodbye. The scandal that followed, embezzlement charges pinned on me, fabricated emails, doctored ledgers. I'd swung from the family gallows, my name dragged through page 6 like yesterday's trash. Elena? She inherited it all. Kensington Properties became Elena Kensington Fine Homes, a boutique brand that hawked our tainted legacy to Park Avenue widows. As the applause died down, I felt it, the itch under my skin, the electric hum of second chances.
How? Why?
I didn't question the mechanics. 1 minute, blackness and betrayal. The next, this. Sweat beading on my forehead, the itch of my too-tight sheath dress, the pulse of opportunity in my veins. Trung-sin, they call it in those Korean dramas Mom binge-watched. Rebirth. Revenge. Whatever. All I knew was that the clock had reset to 11:59 p.m., candles flickering on the cake like fuses waiting for a match. Mom leaned in, her Botox-smooth face creasing into concern. "Darling, you look flushed. Too much wine." Her hand patted mine, diamonds winking like false stars. In the old timeline, I'd brushed it off, blamed the heat from the fireplace. But tonight? Tonight, I saw the calculation in her eyes, the way she glanced at Elena, as if measuring heir apparents. I pulled my hand away, slow, deliberate. The room held its breath. "Actually, Mom," I said, my voice steady as a closing argument, "I'm just realizing how much of a joke this all is." Gasps rippled. Aunt Lydia's pearls clattered into her soup. Dad's brow furrowed, that trademark scowl he'd patented in boardrooms. "Harper," he warned, low and loaded, like thunder rolling in from Jersey. Elena tilted her head, playing the peacemaker. "Sis, what's gotten into you? It's your night." "My night." God, the irony. I laughed, a sharp, brittle sound that cut through the jazz crooning from the speakers. "My night? Like last year, when you accidentally leaked my pitch to the Tribune, stealing the Tribeca deal? Or the year before, when you convinced Dad I was too emotional for the London expansion?" The words tumbled out, unfiltered, each one a grenade lobbed into the fragile piece. Faces paled. Cousin Jake choked on a scallop. Elena's smile faltered. Just a twitch. "Harper, that's not." "Save it," I snapped, standing so fast my chair scraped like nails on a chalkboard. The room spun for a second. Not nerves, but the vertigo of timelines colliding. I could see it all. The next 12 months unspooling like a bad movie reel. The anonymous tip to the DA's office, forged in Elena's elegant script. The raid on my office, agents in windbreakers hauling servers while she watched from the penthouse, sipping rose. My arrest in handcuffs that chafed like regret. The trial where Mom testified I was always unstable. Dad's silence louder than any verdict.
No.
Not again. I grabbed the cake knife, the one with the pearl handle Mom had inherited from Grandma, and plunged it into the table's edge. Wood splintered. "This ends now. All of it. The lies, the setups, the way you've all treated me like the help in my own damn house." Silence crashed down, heavier than the '08 market crash. Dad's face purpled. "Young lady, you will apologize this instant or what?" I whirled on him, fire in my chest. "You'll cut me out? Like you did when I was 12, after I caught Elena shoplifting that necklace from Bergdorf's and you paid it off, calling it youthful mischief? Or when I was 22, fresh out of Wharton, and you gave her my internship because she needed the confidence boost?" The accusations hung in the air, toxic as secondhand smoke. Elena's eyes darted, to the door, to her phone, calculating exits. I knew that look. It was the same one she'd worn in the boardroom when she framed me, her fingers flying over keys to plant the digital breadcrumbs. Mom stood, trembling, her voice a whisper shout. "Harper Kensington, you stop this hysterics right now. We've given you everything." "Everything," I echoed, bitter as black coffee. "You gave me scraps. Elena got the trust fund, the Rolodex, the red carpet rollout. I got the blame when deals soured, the midnight calls to bail her out of DUIs. And that everything ends with me dead and you toasting her at my funeral."
Dead.
The word detonated. Aunt Lydia gasped, hand to her throat. Jake's wife whispered, "Is she drunk?" Elena recovered first, standing with that infuriating grace. "Harper, you're scaring everyone. Maybe we should get you some air." Her hand reached for my arm. Instinct, I guess, the same one that would later slip the vial into my drink. I jerked back. "Touch me, and I'll scream every dirty secret this family's buried from here to the Hamptons." The bluff worked. She froze. Dad slammed his napkin down. "Enough. Security." But I was already moving, snatching my phone from the table, fingers flying. In the old life, I'd been too shocked, too loyal to fight back. This time, I'd prepped in the ether of death, piecing together the puzzle they'd shattered me with. Emails, bank records, The offshore account Elena siphoned funds into, masked as consulting fees. The zoning bribe I took the fall for, but she'd orchestrated with her lover, a sleazy councilman named Ruiz. Call them off, Dad. I said, calm now. The eye of the storm. Because if you don't, this goes public.
Right now.
The Post, the Times, hell, even TMZ, if I have to. He hesitated. That Titan's pause before the empire cracks. Around us, the party fractured. Guests murmuring, edging toward the foyer. Elena's face was a mask of fury. Cracks showing. Good. Let her feel the fracture. As the first sirens wailed in the distance, not for me, not yet, I knew the real birthday gift wasn't the cake. It was this, a year to dismantle them, brick by venomous brick. And I'd start tonight. The fallout from that dinner was biblical, a New York minute stretched into a week of tabloid Armageddon. By dawn, the story had leaked, not by me, but by some cousin with a Twitter finger itchier than a junkie's vein. Kensington heiress meltdown, sibling rivalry turned savage at birthday bash. Photos splashed across daily news. Me, wild-eyed, knife in the table. Elena, poised but pale, fleeing into a town car. Mom called it a phase, but I heard the tremor in her voicemail, the one begging me to come home and talk like adults. Home. The brownstone on East 78th, with its doorman named Raoul, who tipped his hat like we were royalty, not rot. I didn't go back. Instead, I holed up in my Soho loft, the one I'd bought with my grunts, off-books untouchable. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking cast-iron facades, a kitchen island scarred from late-night ramen sessions. It smelled like fresh paint and possibility, not the stale Chanel No. 5 of family dinners. First order, fortify. I poured a bourbon, top shelf, neat, and booted up my laptop. In the old timeline, Elena had hacked my cloud 2 months post-birthday, planting the fraud files. This time, I wiped it clean, migrated to encrypted servers in Iceland. Then the calls. My lawyer, Tina, a pit bull in Louboutins who'd once got me out of a bar fight with a hedge fund bro, Harper? Jesus, what the hell? The whole city's buzzing. Busy yourself, I told her. Dig into Elena's finances. Start with the Cayman wires. And Ruiz, Councilman Ruiz. I need everything. She whistled low. You sure? This is family. Family's overrated. Make it airtight. By noon, I drafted the cease and desist, not against them, but preemptive. A letter to the board, CC to Dad, outlining irregularities in recent acquisitions. Vague enough to spook, specific enough to sting. I hit send from a burner account, then blocked their numbers. Let them stew. But revenge isn't a solo act, it's a symphony of schadenfreude. Next, allies. I texted Marcus, my old Wharton buddy turned VC shark. Drinks? Got a pitch that'll make your eyes water. He bit hook, line, and martini. Over oysters at Grand Central's Oyster Bar, I laid it out. Kensington 2.0, my baby. No more family strings. I'd spin off the commercial arm. Rebrand as Harper Hale Developments. Sustainable builds, green tech, the woke wave crashing Wall Street. Marcus's eyes lit like he'd hit the Powerball. You're serious? After that circus? Dead serious. I clinked his glass. And if you invest, you'll own the story of the summer, the sister who rose from the roast. He laughed, but I saw the wheels turn. By night's end, we'd shaken on seed money. First win. Elena didn't wait long to counter. 2 days later, a process server banged on my door, subpoena for defamation. She'd lawyered up with the firm that repped the Trumps back in the day. I forwarded it to Tina, who fired back a motion to dismiss faster than a cabbie dodging potholes. But the real jab came via email from Mom. Subject, we need to talk. Harper, this tantrum has gone far enough. Your father is beside himself. Elena's devastated. Come to the house.
No lawyers.
Just family. Devastated. The word twisted in my gut. I remembered her at my trial, testifying with crocodile tears about how I'd always been jealous. How she'd try to help, but I was unstable. The jury ate it up, Blue-collar folks from Queens, hating on the trust fund kid who cracked. I replied, family meetings canceled. Tell Elena to watch her back. The truth has teeth.
Petty?
Maybe. But it felt like exhaling after years underwater. The week blurred into reconnaissance. I tailed Elena, nothing stalker-y, just a hired PI named Frankie, ex-NYPD with a gut like a beer keg and ethics for rent. He sent dossiers, her brunches with Ruiz at Balthazar, whispers of a Hamptons getaway. And the kicker, texts from her phone, pulled via some shady app, handle the sister problem. Quietly. Like last time. The necklace at 12. The DUI at 24. When I'd taken the wheel in the family narrative. Patterns. That's what kills empires. Not the big betrayals, but the small cuts that bleed you dry. By Friday, the board meeting loomed. Dad's quarterly ritual, held in the Kensington Tower on Park Avenue. A glass phallus piercing the sky. I'd been the shadow puppeteer, feeding him stats while Elena posed for headshots. This time, I crashed it. Security knew me, waved me through with awkward nods. The conference room was a war zone of egos, suits from Goldman, developers from Dubai, all nursing espressos and grudges. Dad spotted me first, mid-sentence about Q3 projections. Harper. This is neither the time. I strode to the head of the table, heels clicking like guillotine blades. Actually, it is. Gentlemen and Elena, I nodded at her, perched like a vulture. I've got news. Murmurs. Elena's nails dug into her leather folio. I plugged in my drive, projected the slides. Elena's offshore siphons, Ruiz's quid pro quos, the zoning fraud I'd confessed to in the old life, but originated from her playbook.
Gasps.
Dad's face went the color of day-old latte. These are allegations, Elena hissed, voice like silk over razor wire. Baseless. She's unhinged. Unhinged. I echoed, clicking to the next slide, her text to Ruiz, timestamped. Or just finally awake? The room erupted. Phones buzzed. A Saudi investor bolted for the door. Dad pounded the table.
Out.
Both of you. But the damage bloomed. By evening, CNBC looped it. Kensington scandal. Heiress accuses sister of embezzlement. Elena's stock, our stock, tanked 15%. I watched from a dive bar in the village, nursing a whiskey sour, the TV's glow painting my grin demonic. That night, she came to me, not with lawyers, but alone. Buzzer rang at 2 a.m. I buzzed her up, Glock tucked in my waistband, paranoia from the old death. She looked wrecked, mascara tracks, hair limp, that power suit rumpled like yesterday's news. Harper, she started, stepping into the loft, eyes scanning like a cornered fox. This has to stop. I leaned against the counter, casual.
Why?
Afraid of the view from the bottom. She laughed, bitter. You think you know? You have no idea what I've carried for you.
Carried.
The word hung, heavy. In the timelines, she'd always played the martyr. But this was new. A crack in the facade. Sit, I said, gesturing to the couch. Not mercy. Leverage. She did, knees together, hands clasped. Remember the accident? When we were kids. The one with Mom's car. I did. Vaguely. Summer in the Hamptons, age 14 for me, 17 for her. We'd snuck the keys, joyride on dunes. Flipped into a ditch. I walked away scraped. Elena swore she blacked out. Dad covered it, insurance, NDAs, the works. What about it? I prompted. Her eyes met mine, wet. I was driving, Harper.
Not you.
You took the blame, because I begged. Said it'd ruin me for college, for everything. Bullshit.
Or was it?
Memory flickered, her tears my nod, the lie we'd sold. But in the old life, she'd used it against me, whispering to Mom how I'd always been reckless. Why tell me now? I pressed. Because you're destroying us. And if you keep digging, you'll find the rest. The real reason Dad favors me. My pulse spiked. Which is? She leaned forward, voice a conspiracy. He's not your father. The world tilted. Not my father. The words echoed, a grenade in my chest. Elena watched, waiting for the blast. Her confession hung in the loft like smog over the East River. Thick, choking, impossible to ignore. I stared at Elena, searching for the tell, the averted gaze, the fidget. But she held steady, those hazel eyes, mirrors of Mom's, locked on mine. DNA test, she said, sliding a manila envelope across the coffee table. I found it last year. In Dad's safe. You were. An affair. Mom's with the gardener. Before he fired him and married her out of guilt. Gardener. The word conjured faded snapshots. A burly guy with calloused hands, pruning the estate roses while Mom watched from the veranda, her laughter too bright. I'd always thought it was flirtation, not fire. But this rewrote the blood in my veins. Why hide it? My voice cracked, raw. Not anger. Yet. But the vertigo of foundations crumbling. Elena shrugged, a small, sad motion. To protect you. Or maybe us. Dad knew. He raised you anyway, but it ate at him. That's why he pushed me forward. The real Kensington. Lies layered on lies. In the old timeline, this secret had been her ace, the whisper that sealed my isolation, making me the outsider even in my own skin. But here, in this reset, she dangled it like a truce flag. I snatched the envelope, papers spilling. Lab results, timestamps from '96, my birth year. Proof. Cold clinical. I laughed, the sound hollow. Protect me? By framing me for your crimes? By poisoning. Poison. She recoiled, genuine shock rippling her features. What the hell are you talking about? The old death flashed, champagne bubbles, her hand steady on the flute. But doubt crept in, a worm in the apple. Was it her? Or Mom? Tying off loose ends? Dad? Securing the legacy? Forget it, I muttered, stuffing the papers back. This changes nothing. I'm taking what's mine. She stood, smoothing her skirt. It changes everything, Harper. If this leaks, we're all done. Think about Mom. The cancer, it's back. Stage 3. Cancer. Another gut punch. In the original run, she'd announced it post-trial, during my appeals, playing the sympathy card to bury the story. Now, a weapon or truth. Use it, I said, voice steel. Leak it yourself. See how the board feels about a dying matriarch's dirty laundry. She left with a slammed door, the echo lingering like a threat. I didn't sleep. Paced instead, bourbon bottles sweating on the counter. By dawn, I decided. Dig deeper. Not just Elena, the whole rotten core. Tina delivered gold by lunch. Ruiz's love nest receipts. Elena's name on half. And a bonus. Dad's slush fund, funneled through Shell Corp for political donations. Bribes, basically. The kind that built Kensington from Queens row houses to Manhattan penthouses. Armed, I went public. Not a whisper, a roar. Press conference in Foley Square, flanked by Tina and a PR shark named Lexi, who spun scandals into silk. Cameras flashed like paparazzi lightning. Ladies and gentlemen, I began, heart hammering but voice velvet. The Kensington name has been a beacon of American ambition. But ambition unchecked breeds shadows. Today, I step out of them. I laid it bare. The fraud, the favoritism, the family fractures. No names at first, tease them. Then, slide by slide, the evidence. Elena's accounts. Ruiz's texts. The DNA bomb, redacted but implied. Reporters scribbled frenzy. Miss Kensington, is this a revenge plot? One shouted. Revenge? I smiled, sharp.
No.
Reckoning. The market quaked. Shares plunged 30%. Dad called, voicemail, furious. You've killed us, you ungrateful bitch. Mom texted, please, Harper. For me.
Elena?
Radio silence, but Frankie tailed her to a clinic. Chemo, confirmed. Guilt gnawed. A rat in the walls. Was I the villain now? Tormenting a dying woman, toppling a titan who'd raised me? But then memory surged. The trial, my cell in Rikers, the noose of isolation tightening.
No.
Mercy was for the first life. The counterattack came swift. Elena's lawyers sued for libel. Ruiz stonewalled investigations. Dad rallied the board for a hostile takeover of me. Minority shareholder buyout. The letter read. Bullshit. They wanted me erased. I fought dirty. Leaked Ruiz's affair to the Post. Councilman in crossfire. Kensington ties expose. He resigned by Tuesday, sobbing on CNN about betrayal. Elena cracked next. Anonymous source dropped her chemo logs, painting her as the fragile flower orchestrating the empire's fall. Sympathy surged, but so did scrutiny. Protesters picketed the tower. Kensington kills dreams. Midweek, the twist hit. Marcus called, voice tight. Harper, your pitch? It's gold, but investors are spooked. The DNA thing, it's out.
Out?
I'd buried it. But digging revealed the source. Mom's email to a gossip rag. Off the record. Desperation, or deflection. Rage boiled. I drove to the brownstone first time since the dinner. Raoul waved me up, pity in his eyes. Mom answered, frail in a cashmere robe, chemo's toll etching lines like fault lines. Harper, she breathed, reaching. I sidestepped. Why? One word, loaded. She sagged against the doorframe. To save Elena. The cancer. It's aggressive. She needs the company. You're strong. You could walk away.
Strong.
The word she'd weaponized in court. And the poison? Was that saving too? Her eyes widened. Poison? What? Footsteps. Dad, barreling from the study, faced thunder. Get out.
No.
I planted. We're ending this. All of it. He lunged, not violent, but paternal fury. Grab my arm. You bastard child. The slur landed like a slap. Elena appeared then, hallway shadow to flesh, for port peeking from her sleeve. Stop. We froze. Her voice, weak but wire. It's true, Dad. About the DNA. But the poison. That was you. The room imploded. Dad's grip slackened. Mom gasped, collapsing into a chair. Elena's eyes burned. Not tears, but triumph?
No. Pain.
You. I whispered, piecing it. The champagne. But why? Dad sputtered. The scandal. You were going public. Threatening everything. Ricin from an old contact.
Quick.
Clean.
Clean.
For a man who'd buried bodies metaphorical and, apparently, literal. Elena's laugh was a rasp. I knew. Hacked his emails. That's why I confessed the car, the rest. To force your hand, Harper. Make you the hero. Or the villain. Twist upon twist. She'd played me. Not to kill, but to expose. The fragile sister. The real puppeteer. The confession cracked the brownstone's facade wider than the '79 blackout. Dad crumpled into the armchair, a fallen colossus, mumbling denials that dissolved into sobs. Mom rocked silently, her pearls a rosary of regret. Elena leaned against the wall, spent, her revelation a final exhale.
Me?
I stood in the wreckage, the weight of 2 lives pressing down, not crushing, but clarifying. This wasn't just revenge, it was excavation, unearthing the rot to let light in. Call the cops, I said, voice flat as a verdict. No drama, just done. Dad's head snapped up, eyes wild. Harper, please.
Think of the family.
The name. The name's poison. I cut in. Like the drink you gave me. Sirens wailed distant, closing in. I'd hit record on my phone the second Elena spoke, evidence stacking like indictments. Elena nodded, slow. Do it. For once, let the truth win. Cops swarmed an hour later. Detectives in rumpled suits, forensics in booties, the whole procedural circus. Dad went quietly, cuffs glinting under the chandelier like ironic jewelry. Mom followed, catatonic, to the psych ward for evaluation.
Elena?
She waved immunity, spilled everything. The hacks, the covers, the complicity born of survival. I hated you for it, she admitted to the lead detective, voice a thread. But I loved you more.
Loved.
Past tense? Or fractured present? As they led her away, our eyes met, sisters, strangers, survivors.
No hug. No forgiveness.
Just a nod, the smallest bridge over the chasm. The aftermath was a media monsoon. Front pages screamed, Kensington patriarch poisons daughter in empire implosion. Subheads dissected the DNA, the bribes, the cancer cover-up. Protests swelled, not against me, but the system, the 1% sins weed embodied. My phone buzzed apocalypse. Marcus pulling out, then doubling down. Tina billing hours like heartbeats. Lexi pitching a Netflix doc. I retreated to the loft, windows blacked with newsprint. Sleep came in fits, dreams of flipped cars and bubbling flutes. But dawn brought clarity. Rebirth wasn't erasure. It was rewrite. First, the Empire's autopsy. I testified, clean, composed, no grudges aired. The board dissolved Kensington Properties, assets liquidated under oversight. I snagged the commercial scraps, rebranded Hale Developments. Green builds in the Bronx, affordable lofts for artists squeezed by gentrification. Marcus came back, hat in hand, $10 mill plus intros. We shook on a rooftop in Brooklyn, skyline humbled by scaffolds. Elena got house arrest, cancer treatment in a Park Avenue clinic, ankle monitor chafing like karma. We didn't speak, not at first. But months in, a letter arrived. No pleas, just facts. The gardener was kind. You have his eyes. Forgive yourself first. I burned it, ashes swirling in the wind off my balcony. Forgiveness? A luxury for the living. But understanding? That took root, tentative as spring shoots. Mom stabilized, moved to assisted living upstate, neutral ground, no brownstones. Visits were stilted. Tea and silences, her apologies scripted from therapy. I chose wrong, she'd say, hands trembling. I'd nod, leave tulips. Not absolution, but truce. Dad? Life without parole in Sing Sing, the irony thick as prison gruel. I went once, plexiglass between us, his face gaunt. Proud, he rasped. Of surviving you?
Yeah.
No more. I walked out, the clang of gates a full stop. By my 30th, the real one, unpoisoned, Hale was booming. Groundbreaking in Harlem, solar panels gleaming, community co-ops thriving. The party? Low-key, loft packed with Marcus's crew, Tina toasting to the Phoenix.
No cake.
Bourbon neat. Elena showed, uninvited but unchallenged. Wigs off now, hair inching back, she looked small, human. Happy birthday, she said, envelope in hand. Not cash, deeds. Her share of the old holdings signed over. Build something better. I took it, throat tight. Why? Because you're the strong one. Always were. We didn't hug, but as she left, city lights haloing her silhouette, I felt the twist resolve. Not neat, not Hollywood, but real. American as apple pie laced with arsenic, flawed, fierce, forward. That night, alone with the skyline, I raised a glass. To the dead me, the betrayed.
To the rebirth that bit back. Shock.
Yeah, we'd all felt it. But in the end, it was the spark that lit the fire. And damn, it burned bright.